It was one of those mornings where the sun felt like it was trying to pour courage into the world, yet for Alina, courage wasn't something the sun could hand over so easily, because every day at school was a battlefield she had to fight in her own quiet way, rolling forward in her wheelchair while others walked past without a second glance, pretending not to notice the strength it took for her to even show up. She was 17, brilliant in her studies, and had dreams bigger than the small town she lived in. But her disability had made her a target for the cruel kind of students who fed on weakness they thought they saw, never realizing that hidden inside her was a fire far stronger than any of them could ever imagine. And that morning, as she wheeled herself toward the school gate, her backpack strapped behind her chair, she spotted them. 3 boys leaning on the iron gate with smirks stretching across their faces, blocking the only entryway she could take, because there was no other ramp, no other side door that she could manage on her own. And for a moment her stomach twisted, that familiar dread she'd felt countless times before when bullies decided her existence was entertainment. But she didn't slow down, she kept rolling. Each push of her wheels steady, deliberate, like the beat of a drum announcing she wasn't afraid, even though inside she felt the tremble of nerves rattling her bones. And as she came closer, the tallest of the boys, Jason, stepped forward with his hand outstretched as though commanding a stop, laughing in that careless, cruel way that made the others join in, saying, "Where do you think you're going, Wheels? This gate is closed for you today." And the others laughed louder, one of them even pulling out his phone, ready to record whatever humiliation they had planned. But Alina's eyes didn't falter. She looked right through them, her lips pressed tight, and that silence of hers seemed to unsettle them for a second, because she wasn't begging, wasn't pleading, wasn't reacting the way they wanted her to. She simply pushed her wheels harder and rolled closer until Jason stepped directly in front of her chair, blocking her path completely, arms crossed like some guard, sneering down at her as if he had real power. And the other boys chanted, "Go back, go back. Wheels can't pass here," their voices rising like a pack of hyenas circling prey. But in that instant something shifted inside Alina, something that had been building up for months, for years. The anger of being dismissed, the frustration of being underestimated, the exhaustion of being treated as less. And in that heartbeat she decided she wasn't going to stop, not this time, not ever again. So she tightened her grip on her wheels, leaned forward, and with every ounce of strength she had, pushed her chair harder than she ever had before, the sudden momentum catching Jason off guard, the heavy metal footrest of her wheelchair slamming into his shins with a force that made him stumble back in shock. And before the others could react, her chair rolled forward like a battering ram, clipping the legs of the second boy who had been laughing the loudest, sending him crashing to the ground, his phone flying from his hands, the recording cutting off in mid-laugh. And the third boy tried to sidestep, but Alina swerved with a precision that showed she had mastered maneuvering in ways they could never anticipate, her wheel grazing his ankle just enough to throw him off balance so that he stumbled into the school fence, all 3 of them now stunned, groaning, embarrassed, and more importantly, completely out of her way. And the silence that fell over the courtyard in that moment was deafening, because a crowd had gathered, students who had been watching from a distance, expecting to see Alina humiliated yet again, but instead they saw the opposite. They saw her break through the wall of cruelty with nothing but her own willpower and the machine she had been tied to for life, turning it into a weapon of dignity and defiance. And for the first time, whispers started spreading, not of mockery, but of awe. "Did you see that? She knocked them down like they were nothing. She didn't even flinch. She's stronger than all of them." And though Alina kept rolling forward, refusing to let the moment slow her down, inside her chest her heart pounded like thunder, not out of fear but out of triumph, because she knew she had just written a new chapter of her story, one where she wasn't the victim anymore, one where every shove forward was a declaration that she belonged here, no matter what walls people tried to put in her way. And as she passed through the gate and into the schoolyard, she could feel eyes following her, some filled with guilt for the times they had stood by and done nothing, others filled with newfound respect. And though the bullies scrambled to their feet behind her, muttering excuses and trying to hide their humiliation, it was too late. The story had already taken root, and by the time she reached her classroom, Everyone was talking. Everyone was replaying what they had seen. The moment when a disabled girl showed more courage in a single push of her wheels than her bullies could muster in a lifetime, and as she parked her chair by her desk, adjusting her books with calm hands, she knew this was only the beginning, that from now on they would think twice before standing in her way, and she whispered to herself, almost like a vow, "They'll learn every time they block me. I'll break through." And little did she know that this act of defiance was going to ripple far beyond that gate, inspiring others who had felt small, powerless, or overlooked, because courage has a way of multiplying when seen, and her story was about to spread further than she ever imagined. But for now she sat tall, unshaken. And when the morning announcements came over the speaker, her lips curved into the faintest smile, because she realized something powerful. That strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it rolls quietly until the world has no choice but to notice. And dear viewers, if you want to know how Alina's fight continues, how her chair becomes a symbol that no gate, no bully, and no barrier can hold her back, then make sure you subscribe to this channel right now, because the next chapter will shake you even deeper, and her journey is one you don't want to miss.